What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Rick Knows Hoops. I'm your host, Tyreek. Welcome back to the channel. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new viewer. It's a channel we just talk about NBA basketball, man. I wasn't gonna record tonight. I really wasn't, but man, Julius Randle, he been inspiring me, man. With the way he's been playing the game lately, he's really been inspiring me. So I had to turn the camera on and record real quick, man. I just really want to bring to light, like, we as NBA fans, we got to give these players time, especially young guys coming to the league at like 19, 20 years old. We got to give these guys time, man, because Julius Randle's one of those players, like, his career arc is so crazy. Like, I personally never expected him to have game like this from when I remember watching him, when he was in high school, and then seeing him play at Kentucky, and then his early days with the Lakers. I never expected him to be like this, man, because he has been playing amazing basketball, and he has the Knicks, back to, like, the Knicks tape, man. Like, I really like it. I enjoy watching the New York Knicks play basketball, and I don't think I've said that since I was like 13 years old. It's been a long time since I've enjoyed watching Knicks basketball, man, and it's really been because, like, Julius Randle is really doing so much for this team, man. I mean, counting stats aside, just the way his game has evolved, it's really amazing to watch, and it should give hope for a lot of, young guys that maybe haven't figured it out yet. That, you just got to give him some time, man. You really got to give him some time because he's really evolved his game so much, man. He's playing like a point forward type role for this Knicks team. He's averaging, career highs across the board, points, rebounds, assists. We all know he's a first-time All-Star, and the Knicks are three games over 500, and they're sitting right there, I think, at the 4th or 5th seed right now. They might be tied with the Atlanta Hawks right now, but they're at 30 and 27, so they're playing amazing basketball. A lot of credit to the Knicks, man. Tom Thibodeau's really done a great job changing the culture. I like what they've done with their draft picks. Emmanuel Quickly's been good. We haven't seen much of Obi Toppin, but I still think, he can show some promise. And, that was the interesting part about drafting him. Obi Toppin was, I think a lot of people had in mind after Julius Randle's first season with the Knicks, which was very underwhelming, last season, because the Knicks weren't very good. He just didn't play to the level like he did his long season in New Orleans, where he had a career year there, especially when Anthony Davis went down. He was playing amazing basketball. But, I think maybe some people, I think I was kind of in that boat, like maybe they'll just, let this season ride out with Julius Randle's contract, because I believe he's on a team option going into this next season. So his last year will be a team option of his 3-year deal. And I think, they were probably in the, realm, maybe just let him walk and, ride with Obi Toppin and the rest of those young players, see what they can build. But Julius Randle's been so great. He has to be a part of that next future. He really has to. He's been that good this season. And I just want to, I don't know if you guys just remember, like, the Laker days, because he would try and do, like, this point forward stuff, but it just wasn't, like, effective. And it was hard to really translate what he would be, on the NBA level. Like, what would his ceiling be? Because he was a, high lottery pick. I think he was picked at, 7th pick by the Lakers in the 2014 draft. I mean, that was a while ago now, as you think about it. And, the fact that he's only 26 years old, it shows a lot of promise, not just for him, but, just young guys in general. Because I'm sure there's a lot of players that, we've kind of given up on. There was a few in that Lakers core, like Brandon Ingram was kind of in that boat. Like, we didn't know what he was going to be. Lonzo Ball, D'Angelo Russell, even like Jordan Clarkson in a certain capacity. Maybe Kyle Kuzma was that way now. Like, we got to think these guys are all young players, and that's just from the Lakers core. I mean, there's so many guys from around the league. Another prime example, I think Miles Bridges is kind of in that boat, because I think he's figured out what his role is on the NBA level now. He's really starting to figure it out. He's having a really good season this year. Even like Malik Monk was starting to figure out his role this season before he got injured. Get well soon. And, there's a bunch of other guys, too, that, I just can't think of it off the top of my head. But there's some guys, like, I hope can maybe figure it out, like Dennis Smith Jr. Josh Jackson's doing it, pretty well, too. But, you just like to see guys that we weren't so sure of start to pan out. And from where Julius Randle was, his rookie season, he broke his leg in his very first game, to second season, third season, he was just kind of looking like he was trying to figure, what his role was. And he goes to New Orleans, kind of starts to figure out the game a little bit, playing a little more open court. And then from his first season with the Knicks, when the Knicks weren't invited into the bubble, they said this on the broadcast tonight on ESPN. As soon as the Knicks weren't invited to the bubble in the fall, Julius Randle, he went to work with his trainer in Texas. They went to work, and he was working, 3 times a day. He had training in the morning, then he was lifting in the afternoon, and at night he was back, working on his skills. And you can tell that work is really paying dividends, man. I mean, just the way, like, Julius, he's handling the ball. He's breaking people off the dribble easily, step back jump shots, added the 3-point shot to his game, and it's consistent. I think he's shooting around 40%, if not over 40%. I mean, I could go on and on about Julius Randle. He's been amazing this season. I'm just, basketball is just better when the New York Knicks are good, when the Lakers are good, when the Bulls are good, which we'll probably get to them a little bit later in this video. But, when those big market teams are good, the NBA is so much better. So shout out to Julius Randle and shout out to the New York Knicks. I know Knicks fans are happy everywhere. But I'm going to get to, a few more storylines around the league tonight. The Minnesota Timberwolves have been playing really good basketball, especially since D'Angelo Russell's been back in the lineup. I mean, when your point guard is out, it's hard to really find any kind of rhythm. And this is a team, I don't know how much better they would be if they had been healthy all year, but they would definitely not be the worst team in basketball, because I think Karl-Anthony Towns is talented enough, and I think him and D'Lo flow so well offensively. From what I've seen, like, they flow very well offensively. I think they would be a better team than what they are now. I mean, I think they might now finally be better than the Houston Rockets, but they've been at the bottom of the league pretty much from the jump. But I think a healthy roster would be a little more competent in the NBA. So I'll be interested to see them at full strength next season, see maybe what they do in the offseason, if they're able to keep their draft pick, see what they can do with that. But shout out to them for beating the Miami Heat, another team that's kind of been very up and down this season. You definitely have to see them start to figure it out, because teams ahead of them in that playoff race are starting to figure it out, like the Hawks. The Celtics are playing a lot better. The Knicks, like I said, those teams are really starting to figure it out. And teams behind them, you don't want to be in that play-in, is all I'm saying, because anything can happen in that play-in. Just like the Washington Wizards are making a run to get into that play-in game, man. And I don't care like what you've seen from them this season. I don't want to see Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook in a win-or-go-home situation. Like, it's just one game. I don't want to see those two on the court. I really don't. And Russ has been playing really good basketball lately. It seems like he's getting kind of back to how he was playing last year, like just, playing his game. And I think the additions that they made at the trade deadline has been helping this team out a lot. Yeah, my camera died. But what I was saying was, it's kind of crazy that, we all expected the Bulls to be the team to make that playoff push, to get closer to that 8 seed potentially, but solidify themselves in the play-ins. But it looks like it might be the Wizards, it might be the Raptors. I mean, both of those teams won tonight, and the Bulls ended up losing, and Zach LaVine being out 2 weeks due to a virus, health and safety reasons. That's a tough blow for them, and they also lost tonight. So it's looking like it might be really between the Raptors and the Wizards. The Cavs are kind of lurking. They're a few games back, but they might have a little bit of a bigger mountain to climb. But man, for the Raptors, shout out to Paul Watson Jr., man. He was getting some playing time in the bubble. Y'all might not be familiar with him at all, but he's nice. He's nice, man. And he had a big game tonight, career high 30 points for the Raptors. Got to start tonight, and he went crazy in the third quarter, scored like 20 in the third. Ended up hitting 8 threes on the game, 8 for 11. I mean, he was playing great basketball. It seems like the Raptors, they always have just somebody like a hidden gem that just come out and start hooping. Like Malachi Flynn's been playing really good this season. Pascal, a few years ago, he was that hidden gem that kind of came out of nowhere. Fred VanVleet was a hidden gem that if you didn't watch college basketball, you probably didn't know who Fred VanVleet was. But the Raptors, they're known for getting those kind of guys. But they're making a little bit of a run along with the Wizards, and I wouldn't want to play either one of those teams in the play-in, because the Raptors, they have that, they got those players, that championship DNA, despite how rough of the season has been. And the Wizards, they got 2 all-star caliber players. I don't want to see either one of them in a win-or-go-home situation, because that could get very, very scary, in my opinion. Speaking of scary, Scary Terry had a big dunk tonight, but the Nets ended up getting that win. KD had like 11 assists, so, good job for him. I might have to speak on the Nets separately, because I am getting kind of worried that, their team hasn't played really a whole stretch together. Like, I think their big threes only played 7 games together. That's kind of a little concerning for me, man. I know they have so much talent, with those 3 guys, Blake Griffin, Joe Harris, all those guys. Bruce Brown's been really good. I like Nick Claxton. Hopefully LaMarcus Aldridge, he's all good with his health, man. It's sad to see him retire, man, because I'm gonna have, hey, stay tuned. I'm gonna have something for LaMarcus Aldridge, man. He deserves his flowers for sure. But they got a lot of talent, but they haven't played a lot together, man. They really haven't. So that could be very concerning, especially when a team like Philly, with Joel Embiid, with Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris has been having a very good season. They're looking like a team in the playoffs that could be kind of scary to play. And the one thing about them, they defend really well. They're a very good defensive team. And their last couple of games, they almost blew a big lead against tonight the Clippers. I forget who it was the other night, but it was a national TV game. They almost blew a big lead, but they were able to secure that game. I think it was against the Mavericks. But Joel Embiid, since he came back from his injury, he looks like he hasn't missed a beat. He still looks very dominant. Still looks like an MVP candidate. He's been very good. So I wouldn't, if there's any team in the East, in my opinion, that's the team that could take out the almighty Brooklyn Nets. But speaking of one MVP and Joel Embiid, let's get to the front runner, the MVP favorite, Nikola Jokic, having another big game. The Denver Nuggets, blown out the Houston Rockets, as they probably should. Still with this team, missing Jamal Murray, guys are going to have to step up. Michael Porter Jr. had a very good game. Him, Monte Morris, Will Barton, those guys are going to have to be very big for this team, along with Aaron Gordon. And Aaron Gordon, alluding back to Julius Randle, is another guy that people may have given up on, and maybe just, a little change of scenery helps his game out a lot, makes him, look like, a much more, competent NBA player, even though he already was in Orlando. But now it seems like he's playing more free in Denver. Maybe it's the winning situation, but he looks like a much more free player now. So good to see, him starting to really spread his wings and be a better NBA player. And I mentioned Josh Jackson earlier. He had a big game tonight too. He's had a few big games this season. He scored 29 tonight. I like to see him because he was somebody that almost fell out the league. And now I think he's found kind of a home in Detroit, or at least somewhere where he can, show his talents. And, he's still a very young player too, man. Like, that's pretty much just the moral of this video. That's why I wanted to record this, because Julius Randle inspired the idea. You got to give these players time, man, because a lot of these guys are coming in as kids. Like, they're 19 years old. They're younger than I am. Like, they come in at like 19, 20 years old. They're young kids, pretty much fresh out of high school. They spent like a semester and a half in college, pretty much. Like, they're still kids. Like, we really have to understand that. And aging in the game of basketball, it does take time. Like, it's rare that you see, a LeBron or a Zion or a Luka Doncic. Like, that doesn't happen every year, and it doesn't happen with every player that gets drafted in the lottery. So you got to be patient with these guys, man, because eventually, if they work hard, man, their talent is going to end up, showing. And you're going to see that. Julius Randle is a prime example of that. He's showing that this season. Guys, Brandon Ingram showed that to us last year too in New Orleans. Like, guys can really develop. They develop at their own pace, and you got to be patient with them as fans. And as teams, it's your decision on if you want to stick with the guy or trade him if you can still get something for him. But eventually, players, I think, if they get in the right situation, they can perform. And I'm glad Julius Randle is in that Tom Thibodeau Nick environment. It just fits his game so well, and I'm excited to see if they can get into the playoffs. Hopefully they're not in that playing situation, man, because that could be scary. Having to maybe play the Wizards or somebody, or whoever the seventh. Like, it could get scary, man. But hey, Knicks basketball is back. Julius Randle definitely deserving of that All-Star. Let us see it. Reek knows hoops. I'm gonna be back next time, y'all.